Does it stop hurting? The question came from a 4-year-old girl with tears streaming down her face, her voice so broken it could shatter hearts. Across from her sat a stranger, a waitress who had just risked her job to kneel beside a screaming child everyone else ignored. It changes. The hurt doesn't go away completely, but it becomes different. Softer. And you know what helps? The little girl shook her head, clutching a worn elephant to her chest. Remembering all the love. Your mama loved you so much, Luna. That love doesn't disappear just because she's not here. It stays right here. The waitress placed a gentle hand over the child's heart. And here. She touched the little girl's forehead softly. In your memories. Every time you think of her, she's with you. In that moment, in one of Manhattan's most expensive restaurants, something impossible happened. A child who had cried inconsolably for 2 months went completely silent. Her father, a billionaire who controlled empires, sat frozen with tears running down his face. And a struggling waitress who made $700 a week was about to have her entire life transformed by 5 minutes of compassion. This is that story. The sound that tore through Lumiere that evening wasn't just noise. It was grief made audible. It was the kind of crying that makes strangers uncomfortable because it reminds them that money can't fix everything. That power has limits. That some pain doesn't care about your bank account or your reputation or the Michelin stars on the wall. Every head in the restaurant had turned toward the corner booth. Crystal chandeliers cast soft light over white tablecloths and couples in designer clothes, but all that elegance meant nothing against the raw anguish of one small child. Luna Loran was 4 years old. She wore a purple dress with silver stars embroidered along the hem. Her dark curls were held back with clips shaped like crescent moons. Someone had dressed her with care, with love. But no amount of care could stop the grief that poured out of her in waves that made hardened Wall Street executives shift in their seats and look away. Her father sat beside her, and if you knew who he was, the scene became even more jarring. Dominic Loran. The name appeared in Forbes, in the Wall Street Journal, in conversations about power and influence. His venture capital firm had stakes in half the tech startups in Silicon Valley. His real estate holdings included buildings across Manhattan. People called him brilliant, ruthless, unstoppable. But right now, watching him try to comfort his daughter, you would see none of that. You would see a man drowning. Helpless. Desperate. His expensive navy suit somehow made him look more powerless, like armor that failed when he needed it most. He had tried everything. Offered her his phone with her favorite videos queued up. Promised ice cream, toys, a pony if she wanted. Spoke in soft tones that didn't match his usual commanding voice. Nothing worked. Luna was somewhere beyond reach, lost in pain that had swallowed her whole. The manager stood near the kitchen, a thin man named Richard with wire-rimmed glasses that kept sliding down his nose. He kept glancing at the corner booth, clearly torn. Ask a man like Dominic Loran to leave? Unthinkable. He could ruin this restaurant with a phone call. But let this continue? The other diners were getting agitated. This was Lumiere. People came here for quiet elegance, not scenes of family crisis. The crying had been going on for 20 minutes. 20 minutes of other diners pretending not to stare. Of waitstaff avoiding that section of the room. Of Richard wringing his hands and doing nothing. But one person couldn't ignore it. Maya Reyes moved between tables with the practiced efficiency of someone who had been waitressing for years. 3 plates balanced on her left arm, 2 on her right. Her feet ached. Everything ached, actually. She had finished her overnight shift transcribing medical records at 3 in the morning, grabbed 2 hours of sleep, then shown up here at Lumiere at 10 for the lunch rush that had bled into dinner service. Her body screamed for rest. Her studio apartment in Queens called to her. The broken heater, the overdue electric bill, the ramen noodles that constituted dinner on most nights. None of it mattered because she needed this job. Both jobs. The two combined barely kept her afloat, but barely was better than drowning. She was 26 and exhausted in a way that went deeper than physical tiredness. This was the exhaustion of survival. Of 3 years spent just trying to make it to the next day without thinking too hard about what her life had become. But that sound. That crying. Maya knew that sound. She set down her tray at table 7, wiped her hands on her apron, and felt something pull at her chest. A recognition. This wasn't a tantrum. This wasn't a child acting out or seeking attention. This was grief. Pure and devastating and impossible to ignore if you had ever felt it yourself. And Maya had. 3 years ago, her 8-year-old sister Bella had darted into the street chasing a ball. Maya was supposed to be watching her. She had looked away for 10 seconds. Maybe 15. Long enough for everything to change forever. The car had come too fast. The driver never saw her. And Bella never came home. Maya heard that same grief every time she closed her eyes. She knew what it sounded like when your heart broke and wouldn't stop breaking. When everyone told you to move on, to heal, to get over it, but the pain just kept coming in waves that knocked you down every time you tried to stand. This little girl was drowning in those waves right now. Maya's coworker Jasmine passed by, carrying a tray of appetizers. She leaned in close and whispered urgently. "Don't. That's Dominic Laurent. He'll have you fired if you bother him. Richard already told everyone to stay away." Maya glanced toward the kitchen. Richard caught her eye and shook his head firmly. The message was clear. Do not approach that table. Do not interfere. Do not risk this restaurant's relationship with one of the most powerful men in New York. But Maya had never been good at following rules when someone needed help. She walked toward the corner booth, her heart hammering so hard she could hear it. Each step felt heavier than the last. She could feel eyes on her. Richard's panicked stare. Jasmine's horrified expression. Other waitstaff watching to see what would happen. The diners who would witness whatever came next. As she got closer, she could see them more clearly. The little girl had her face buried in a stuffed elephant that had clearly been loved for years. One of its ears was missing. The fabric was worn thin in places. She pressed it to her chest and rocked slightly, seeking comfort that wouldn't come. The father looked up as Maya approached. His eyes were an unusual shade of amber, currently clouded with something between exhaustion and fear. Up close, she could see the details that his polished appearance tried to hide. The shadow of stubble on his jaw suggesting he hadn't taken time to shave. The slightly wrinkled collar indicating he had been wearing this suit too long. The lines of stress around his mouth. The tremor in his hands. This was a man at the absolute end of his rope. "Sir." Maya's voice came out quieter than she intended. "I'm sorry to interrupt." "Then don't." His reply was sharp, automatic. The voice of someone who had been managing this crisis too long and had no patience left for strangers. Maya should have walked away. Every survival instinct told her to turn around, go back to her tables, keep her head down and her job secure. But she looked at the little girl and saw something that made staying the only option. The child wasn't looking at her father. She was staring past him at nothing, lost in whatever pain had swallowed her whole. Her small body shook with sobs that seemed too big for someone so little. And her eyes. Maya would remember those eyes for the rest of her life. Dark brown, swimming with tears, carrying a grief that no 4-year-old should ever have to hold. "What's her name?" Maya asked. Dominic's jaw tightened. For a moment she thought he would tell her to leave. Then, his voice rough with strain, he answered. "Luna. Her name is Luna. That's a beautiful name." Maya kept her voice soft. How old is she? 4. The word came out like an admission of failure. She's 4 and I can't help her. I've tried everything. Therapists, specialists, medication. Nothing works. She's been like this for 2 months and I don't know what to do anymore. There was something in that confession. A crack in the armor. This powerful man was admitting helplessness to a stranger, and Maya heard the desperation underneath. Can I try? She asked. If she doesn't want me here, I'll leave immediately. But can I just try to talk to her? Dominic stared at her. Really looked at her, perhaps for the first time. Seeing not just a waitress but a person. Someone who had approached when everyone else stayed away. Someone who asked permission instead of assuming. Someone whose eyes held a kindness that felt genuine. He gave a slight nod. Maya crouched down beside the booth, bringing herself to Luna's eye level. The floor was hard against her knees but she didn't care. This moment required meeting this child where she was, literally and emotionally. Hi, sweetheart. My name is Maya. Luna's crying didn't stop, but her eyes flickered toward Maya for just a second. Acknowledging her presence even if she couldn't respond. I can see you're very sad. Maya continued, her voice barely above a whisper. And that's okay. Sometimes we need to cry. Sometimes our hearts hurt so much that crying is the only thing that helps. The sobbing hitched slightly. A change in rhythm that suggested Luna was listening. You know what I think? Maya said gently. I think you miss someone very much. Someone who loved you a whole lot. Luna's grip on her elephant tightened, but she nodded. Just barely, but it was a nod. And sometimes when we miss someone that much, it feels like there's a big hole inside us. Like part of us is missing and we don't know how to feel whole again. Luna looked directly at her now. Those enormous brown eyes meeting Maya's, searching for something. Understanding maybe. Or just someone who wouldn't tell her to stop crying and be a good girl. She went to heaven. Luna's voice was so small it almost disappeared. Mama went to heaven and she didn't say goodbye. The words landed like stones. Heavy and final. Across the booth, Dominic made a sound. A sharp intake of breath that he tried to suppress. Maya felt her own throat tighten but kept her voice steady. I know, sweetheart. My sister went to heaven too. And she didn't get to say goodbye either. It was true. Bella had been there one moment and gone the next. No goodbye. No last words. Just absence where presence used to be. Luna's crying had quieted to shaky breaths. She was listening now, really listening. Does it stop hurting? The question carried the weight of someone much older. Someone who had learned too young that life could be unbearably painful. Maya thought about lying. Thought about giving the easy answer that adults usually gave children. But something in Luna's eyes demanded honesty. It changes. The hurt doesn't go away completely, but it becomes different. Softer. And you know what helps? Luna shook her head. Remembering all the love. Your mama loved you so much, Luna. That love doesn't disappear just because she's not here. It stays right here. Maya placed a gentle hand over Luna's heart. And here. She touched Luna's forehead softly. In your memories. Every time you think of her, she's with you. Luna looked down at her elephant, her fingers tracing the worn fabric. Mama gave me Celeste. Then Celeste is very special. She's a gift from your mama, something to hold on to when you need to feel close to her. I miss her all the time. I know. And that's okay. Your daddy misses her too. For the first time, Luna looked at her father. Really looked at him. And Dominic, This man who commanded boardrooms and negotiated billion-dollar deals, had tears streaming silently down his face. "Daddy?" Luna's voice wavered. "You never cry." Dominic reached across the table and took his daughter's small hand in his. "I do. I cry all the time, Luna. Just not where you can see. But maybe that's wrong. Maybe we should be sad together. Maybe we should help each other." Something broke open in that moment. Luna scrambled out of the booth and climbed into her father's lap. He wrapped his arms around her and they held each other while the restaurant faded into the background. Other diners looked away, giving them privacy. Even Richard stopped hovering, recognizing something sacred happening in his restaurant. Maya started to stand, her job here done, but Dominic's voice stopped her. "Wait. Please." She paused, half standing, uncertain. "How did you do that?" Dominic asked, his daughter still clutched in his arms. Her crying finally stopped. "I've tried everything. Spent thousands on specialists. Nothing helped. She's been inconsolable for 2 months. And you, in 5 minutes, what did you do?" "I just told her the truth," Maya said simply. "That grief is real and it's allowed. That she doesn't have to be okay." Dominic studied her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. "What's your name?" "Maya. Maya Reyes." "Do you have children, Maya?" "No." "Then how did you know what to say?" Maya hesitated. She rarely talked about Bella. The wound was still too fresh even 3 years later. But something about this moment demanded honesty. "My sister died 3 years ago. Car accident. She was 8. I was supposed to be watching her." The confession hung in the air. Maya felt exposed, vulnerable. She had just admitted her greatest failure to a stranger in a crowded restaurant. But Dominic's expression softened. Something shifted behind his eyes. Understanding, perhaps. Shared pain recognizing itself. "I'm sorry." His voice was quieter now, more human. "That must have been devastating." "It was. It still is. So I know what it's like to grieve. And I know what it's like when people expect you to move on before you're ready. I know what Luna is feeling because I've felt it too." Luna had calmed completely now, resting her head against her father's chest, exhaustion finally claiming her. Her elephant was tucked under her chin. Her breathing had evened out. For the first time in months, according to the way Dominic held her, like he couldn't quite believe the crying had actually stopped, she looked peaceful. "I need help," Dominic said abruptly. "Luna needs help. The kind that specialists can't provide. She needs someone who understands. Someone like you." Maya's heart skipped. "Sir, I don't think I can offer anything more than what just happened. I'm not a therapist or a counselor. I'm just someone who recognized her pain." "Exactly. You recognized it because you've lived it. That's what Luna needs. Not clinical distance but genuine understanding." "I appreciate that, but I really should get back to work. How much do you make in a week?" The question was so direct it caught Maya off guard. She blinked, confused by the sudden shift. "What?" "Working here, and I assume you have another job given that you look exhausted. How much do you make in a week?" Maya should have refused to answer. It was invasive, inappropriate. But something in his tone made her respond honestly. "About 700. Between both jobs." Dominic didn't even blink. "I'll pay you 5,000 a week to be Luna's nanny." The number didn't make sense. Maya stared at him, certain she had misheard. "I'm sorry, what?" $5,000. Weekly. You would live in my home, have your own private quarters, full benefits. Your only responsibility would be Luna. helping her navigate this grief. Being what I can't be, someone who understands her pain from experience, not theory. You don't know anything about me. Maya managed, her mind reeling. I could be anyone. I could be completely unqualified for this. You walked over here when everyone else stayed away. You spoke to my daughter with compassion when I had run out of options. You shared your own grief to help her feel less alone. Dominic's amber eyes held hers. That tells me everything I need to know. Mr. Laurent, I'm not qualified for this. I'm a waitress who dropped out of art school because I couldn't afford tuition. I have no training in childcare or psychology. I live in a studio apartment in Queens with a broken heater. I'm nobody. You're someone my daughter responded to. Someone who reached her when no one else could. That's the only qualification that matters. Maya looked at Luna, now sleeping peacefully in her father's arms, her elephant tucked under her chin. She thought about her cramped apartment where the landlord ignored her calls about the heat. The medical bills from Bella's funeral that she was still paying off in tiny increments. The student loans for a degree she never finished. The bone-deep exhaustion that had become her normal. She thought about being able to help this child who was drowning in the same grief Maya knew so well. When would I start? The words came out before she could stop them. Relief washed over Dominic's face, transforming his features. Tomorrow. Tonight if possible. I'll have a car pick you up. Just give me your address. I need to give notice at my jobs. I'll handle your employers. I'll compensate them for any inconvenience. Just say yes, Maya. Please. There was something in his voice. Vulnerability beneath the commanding tone. This powerful man was asking, not demanding. Pleading, actually. For his daughter. For help that money usually couldn't buy. Maya took a breath. Okay. Yes. I'll help you. The words changed everything. She felt it the moment they left her mouth. Her life, which had been stuck in the same grinding pattern for 3 years, had just shifted onto an entirely different path. Dominic pulled out his phone with his free hand, Luna still sleeping against his chest. Give me your number. I'll send a car tomorrow morning. 8 o'clock. Maya recited her number, watching him type it in. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. Fairy godmothers didn't appear in the form of desperate billionaires offering life-changing amounts of money. But Luna's peaceful face was real. The tear tracks on Dominic's cheeks were real. And the feeling in Maya's chest, something like purpose awakening after 3 years of sleep, that was real too. Thank you. Dominic said, and his voice cracked slightly on the words. You have no idea what this means. I'll do my best. Maya promised. I can't guarantee I'll be what Luna needs long-term, but I'll try. That's all I'm asking. Just try. Maya returned to her tables in a daze. Jasmine cornered her near the kitchen, eyes wide with shock and curiosity. What just happened? Did Dominic Laurent just give you his phone number? Maya, what did you do? I think I just quit. Maya heard herself say. I think my life just completely changed. The rest of her shift passed in a blur. She moved through the motions, serving food and refilling wine glasses, but her mind was elsewhere. Dominic and Luna left the restaurant about an hour later. He carried his sleeping daughter carefully, like she was made of glass. As he passed Maya's station, he nodded once. A gesture of acknowledgement. Of thanks. Of things to come. Richard pulled her aside at the end of her shift. Mr. Laurent spoke to me. Said you'd be leaving us. I'll be honest, Maya, I thought you were crazy approaching him like that. But he seemed very pleased. Even left a substantial donation to our staff fund. So I guess congratulations are in order. Maya nodded, still processing. Thank you, Richard. For everything. Walking home that night, riding the subway back to Queens, Maya pulled out her phone and looked at the text that had come through. Dominic Laurent. It said simply. Car will arrive at 8 a.m. 325 East 78th Street, Penthouse. Pack what you need. Everything else will be provided. Thank you again. Below that was a Venmo notification. $1,000. For any immediate expenses. Consider it an advance. Maya stared at the numbers until they blurred. $1,000 sent as casually as someone might send 20. This was the world she was about to enter. A world where money moved differently. Where problems could be solved with phone calls and transfers. Where a penthouse on the Upper East Side was just an address, not an impossible dream. She thought about calling someone. Sharing this news. But who? Her parents had died when she was 19, before Bella. Her foster care upbringing hadn't left her with close family connections. Jasmine was a work friend, not someone she called with life updates. Maya was alone with this transformation. Alone with her decision. Alone with her hope that maybe, just maybe, helping Luna would help her too. That night, she packed her life into 3 boxes and 2 suitcases. It didn't take long. 26 years fit easily into small spaces when you had moved around as much as she had. Clothes that were worn but clean. Art supplies she hadn't touched in 3 years but couldn't throw away. Photographs. Bella's favorite stuffed unicorn, the one Maya had saved from the accident, the one she held on bad nights. She didn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Luna's face. Heard the question. Does it stop hurting? Felt the weight of having promised to help when she wasn't sure she could even help herself. But she had said yes. And Maya, whatever else she was, kept her promises. The car arrived at exactly 8. Not a car, actually. A Tesla with a driver who introduced himself as Marcus. He loaded her meager belongings into the trunk without comment, without judgment for how little she owned. The drive from Queens to the Upper East Side felt like traveling between dimensions. The neighborhoods shifted from lived-in to polished, from diverse to homogeneous, from her world to Dominic's. Maya watched through the window as her life became smaller in the rearview mirror. Marcus was kind, which helped. He talked about working for the Laurent family for 5 years. About how Mr. Laurent was demanding but fair. About how little Luna was a sweet child who had been through hell. About how the house had felt like a tomb since Mrs. Laurent died. Mrs. Laurent. Isabel. Maya realized she didn't even know how Dominic's wife had died. Just that she had. Just that Luna was grieving her mother. But the details, the story, all of that was still unknown. She was entering their lives at the halfway point. Coming into a narrative already in progress. And she had no idea what role she was supposed to play. The building on East 78th Street was everything she expected and more. Glass and steel reaching into the sky. A doorman who greeted Marcus by name and nodded respectfully to Maya. A lobby with marble floors and art that probably cost more than she would make in a decade. An elevator that required a key card to access the penthouse level. Your card. Marcus handed her a small plastic card. This gives you access to the penthouse and the private garage. Mr. Laurent had it programmed this morning. Maya took it, feeling the weight of that access. Of doors opening that had always been closed. The elevator climbed. 40 floors. 50. Maya's ears popped. She watched the numbers rise and felt like she was ascending into another atmosphere. Another life. The doors opened directly into the apartment. Not a hallway. Not a shared space. The elevator opened into Dominic Laurent's home. Maya stepped into a space that redefined luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased Central Park spread out like a green tapestry below. The decor was modern but warm. Cream and gray tones. Comfortable furniture that somehow also looked expensive. Art on the walls that she recognized from her art school days, original pieces worth fortunes. But what struck her most was the silence. This enormous space felt empty. Echoing with absence. Beautiful but hollow. Maya. Dominic emerged from a hallway, dressed more casually than yesterday. Dark jeans and a white button-down with the sleeves rolled up. He looked like he had actually slept, though shadows still lingered beneath his eyes. "Thank you for coming." "Of course." Maya felt suddenly awkward, aware of her worn jacket and cheap suitcase in this pristine space. "Let me show you your room." Luna's still sleeping. She actually slept through the night for the first time in weeks. "Whatever you did yesterday, the peace lasted." He led her down a wide hallway lined with photographs. Maya caught glimpses as they walked. A beautiful woman with Luna's eyes, captured in moments of joy. Laughing. Dancing. Holding infant Luna. The late Mrs. Laurent, immortalized in frames. "Isabel." Dominic said, noticing her gaze. "My wife." Luna's mother. She was beautiful. She was everything. His voice carried an ocean of loss. Car accident. 6 months ago. Drunk driver ran a red light. She died on impact. Luna was home with the nanny. She didn't see it happen, but she knows her mother left and never came back. "I'm so sorry." "Everyone's sorry." Dominic stopped walking, turned to face her. Sorry doesn't bring her back. Sorry doesn't help Luna sleep through the night without screaming for her mother. Sorry doesn't. He stopped himself, took a breath. "I apologize. That was unfair." "You're trying to help." "Grief isn't fair," Maya said quietly. "It doesn't follow rules or timelines. You're allowed to be angry." He looked at her for a long moment, something unreadable in his amber eyes. Then he pushed open a door. "This is your room." Maya stepped inside and her breath caught. The space was larger than her entire studio apartment. A king-sized bed with cloud-soft linens. A sitting area with a couch and armchair. Built-in bookshelves currently empty but waiting. French doors leading to a private balcony with views of the park. "This is too much." The words slipped out. "It's yours. Make it home." Dominic gestured to the closet. "My assistant will take you shopping today for anything you need. Clothes, personal items, whatever makes you comfortable." "I have clothes." "I'm sure you do. But you'll be accompanying Luna to various activities. The park, museums, her preschool. I'd like you to have appropriate attire." He must have seen something in her expression because he added. "I'm not trying to change you, Maya. But I know the circles my daughter moves in. I don't want you to feel out of place." It stung, just slightly. A reminder that she didn't belong in this world. But his tone was considerate, not condescending. Practical, not cruel. "Luna's room is 2 doors down." Dominic continued. "She usually wakes around 7:30. I've left you a folder with her schedule, dietary restrictions, emergency contacts. Mrs. Chen, our housekeeper, comes in on weekdays. She's been with our family for years. She's wonderful. Any questions? What should I call you? When Luna's around?" "Dominic is fine. She needs to see me as her father, not some distant authority figure." His jaw tightened. "I've been failing at that. Being her father, I mean. I throw myself into work because at least there I know what I'm doing. But with Luna, I'm completely lost." "You're not lost," Maya said gently. You're grieving. And you're trying. That's not failure. Isn't it? My daughter spent 2 months crying herself sick and I couldn't help her. You helped her in minutes. I connected with one specific moment of her pain. But you're her father. You're what she needs most. Long term, consistently, you're what matters. I hope you're right. He checked his watch. I have a meeting in an hour. Luna should wake soon. There's food in the kitchen, help yourself to anything. He paused, vulnerability flickering across his features. Just take care of her. Please. I will. I promise. After he left, Maya stood in her new room, trying to process the surreal turn her life had taken. 24 hours ago she had been serving overpriced pasta to entitled diners. Now she stood in a penthouse overlooking Central Park, responsible for a grieving child, employed by a man who moved through the world with a power she couldn't comprehend. A small voice down the hall made her decision simple. Luna was awake. Maya followed the sound to a bedroom decorated in soft purples and silvers. Moon and star motifs everywhere. A child's sanctuary designed with love. Luna sat up in her bed, clutching Celeste, tears already forming in her eyes. Hey, sweetheart. Maya said softly from the doorway. Remember me? I'm Maya. Luna stared at her, recognition dawning slowly. The lady from the restaurant. That's right. Your daddy had to go to work for a little while, but he'll be back soon. How about you and me have some breakfast? Luna didn't answer, but she climbed out of bed and walked over to Maya, reaching up her arms in the universal gesture of a child wanting to be held. Maya's heart melted. She picked up the little girl, feeling the small body settle against her, trusting and warm. It's going to be okay. She whispered. We're going to be okay. And in that moment, holding this child who carried grief too big for her small frame, Maya believed it. Maybe they could help each other. Maybe broken people could piece each other back together. Maybe this was exactly where she was supposed to be. The first week passed in a blur of adjustment and discovery. Maya learned that Luna liked pancakes shaped like animals and hated having her hair brushed. That she slept with 3 stuffed animals always arranged in the same order, Celeste the elephant, a bear named Honey, and a rabbit called Moonbeam. That she had nightmares almost every night, waking around 2 or 3 in the morning, crying for her mother. Maya would hear her and rush to her room. She never hesitated. Never resented the interrupted sleep. She would hold Luna until the crying stopped, sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes an hour. She would talk about Isabel in gentle terms, teaching Luna that remembering was good. That her mother's love was still real even if her mother wasn't physically here. Mrs. Chen, the housekeeper, appeared on Maya's 3rd day. She was a woman in her 60s with gray hair pulled into a neat bun and sharp eyes that missed nothing. At first, she watched Maya with obvious suspicion. Who was this stranger Mr. Laurent had brought into their home? What did she know about caring for a child like Luna? But by the end of that first day, when Mrs. Chen found Maya on the floor playing with blocks and Luna laughing, really laughing, her expression softened. You're good for her. Mrs. Chen said that evening as Maya helped prepare dinner. I haven't heard her laugh like that since before Mrs. Laurent passed. Tell me about her. Maya asked. About Isabel. I'd like to know. Mrs. Chen poured them both tea and they sat at the kitchen island. She was beautiful. Not just physically, though she was that too. Beautiful in her spirit. She came from old money, one of those families that's been wealthy for generations. But she wasn't snobbish about it. She was kind. Genuinely kind. How did she and Dominic meet? College. Mrs. Chen smiled at the memory. He was scholarship student, brilliant but poor. She was legacy admission, could have coasted through. But she worked as hard as he did. They were lab partners in chemistry. He says it was love at first sight. She says it took her 3 months to convince him she was serious about dating someone from his background. Their families weren't thrilled on either side, but they didn't care. That's beautiful. It was. They built something real. When Sophia was born, Mrs. Chen's eyes misted. I mean Luna. I still slip sometimes. When Luna was born, Isabel was over the moon. That baby became her whole world. She scaled back her charity work, turned down board positions. She just wanted to be Luna's mother. What happened to her? Maya asked gently. The accident? Mrs. Chen's hands trembled around her teacup. She was driving home from a charity gala. One of the few she still attended. Mr. Laurent was supposed to go with her but had a late meeting. She left around 11. The drunk driver crossed the center line on Park Avenue. She never saw him coming. Mrs. Chen wiped her eyes. Mr. Laurent hasn't been the same since. He works all the time now. 16, 18-hour days. I think it's easier for him than being here, surrounded by memories. Maya understood. Grief made people do strange things. Made them run from places that hurt. Made them bury pain under work or substances or anything that created distance from the feelings. Dominic was no different. He just had the resources to run farther and faster than most. That first week, Dominic came home late every night. He would arrive around 10 or 11, exhausted, and go straight to Luna's room. Maya learned to leave her door slightly open so she could hear him. He would stand in Luna's doorway for long minutes, just watching his daughter sleep. Sometimes he would whisper things Maya couldn't hear. Apologies, maybe. Or promises. Or just good nights he hadn't been awake to say. Then he would disappear into his study. Maya would see light under his door at 2 in the morning when she got up to use the bathroom. The man barely slept. He just worked and worked and worked, running from the grief that chased him. But something started to shift during the second week. Maya established a routine with Luna that gave the little girl stability. They woke at 7, had breakfast together. Luna helped pour milk and crack eggs, standing on a stool that Isabel had apparently bought for exactly that purpose. They read 3 stories before nap time. Always the same 3. The Moon Princess, Stella's Garden, and Where Do Butterflies Go? Luna liked the repetition. It made her world predictable when so much had been unpredictable. In the afternoons, they did art projects. Maya pulled out supplies she hadn't touched in 3 years and taught Luna to paint. Not structured painting with rules, but emotional painting. What does sadness look like? Luna painted dark blues and purples. What does love look like? Gold and pink and silver. What does Mama look like? And Luna would paint a woman with yellow hair and a smile that filled the whole page. They created what Maya called the memory garden. A corner of Luna's room dedicated to Isabel. Photographs, drawings, objects that sparked happy memories. A scarf that still smelled like Isabel's perfume. A necklace she used to wear. A book she used to read to Luna at bedtime. Everything arranged carefully, lovingly. A shrine not to death but to life remembered. This is so we never forget your mama. Maya explained. She's always going to be part of your life, Luna. Always. Even though she's in heaven. Especially because she's in heaven. The people who love us never really leave. They stay in our hearts. And when we remember them, it's like they're right there with us. Luna seemed to understand in the way children do. Not intellectually but emotionally. The memory garden became her sacred space. She would go there when she was sad, sit among her mother's things, and talk to Isabel like she was still there. And slowly, gradually, Luna began to heal. The crying episodes became less frequent. Instead of every day, they happened every few days. Instead of lasting hours, they lasted minutes. Luna still grieved, still missed her mother with an ache that sometimes overwhelmed her small body, but she was learning to carry the grief instead of being crushed by it. Maya saw the change in small moments. Luna laughing at breakfast when her pancake looked like a lopsided elephant. Luna asking to go to the park instead of hiding in her room. Luna sleeping through the night more often than not. These tiny victories felt monumental because they represented a child finding her way back to living. But the most significant change happened on a Tuesday afternoon 3 weeks into Maya's employment. Dominic came home early. Not late night early, but actual daylight early. 4 in the afternoon. Maya and Luna were in the living room, painting at the coffee table that Maya had covered with newspapers. Luna was working on a portrait of Celeste, her tongue sticking out in concentration the way children do when they are focused. "Daddy." Luna looked up when she heard the elevator doors open. Her face registered surprise but not the fear that used to accompany his arrivals. "You're home." "I am." Dominic set down his briefcase, and Maya noticed he looked different. Less exhausted. More present. Something had shifted in his expression. "I decided work could wait. I wanted to see what you two were up to." "We're painting." Luna held up her picture proudly. "Look, it's Celeste." "That's beautiful." Dominic crossed the room and crouched beside his daughter. "You're very talented." "Maya taught me." Luna beamed. "She's really good at painting. She went to art school." Dominic glanced at Maya, a question in his eyes. She had not mentioned that detail before. "Art school?" "A lifetime ago." Maya said lightly. "I didn't finish." "Why not?" The question was direct, typical of him, but not invasive. Genuinely curious. Maya found herself answering honestly. "My parents died when I was 19. Car accident. I ended up in foster care with Bella, my younger sister. Couldn't afford tuition and taking care of her, so I chose her." "And then you lost her too?" Dominic said quietly. "I'm sorry. That's unbearably unfair. Life often is." Maya replied. "But I got 8 years with Bella that I wouldn't trade for anything. Not even a degree." "Daddy, do you want to paint with us?" Luna interrupted, already grabbing a fresh piece of paper. "Maya can show you how." Dominic looked startled, like his daughter had suggested something completely foreign. "I don't paint, Luna. I don't know how." "Nobody knows how until they try," Maya said, surprising herself with the gentle challenge in her voice. "Come on. When was the last time you did something just for fun?" He stared at her, and she could see him mentally going through his schedule, his responsibilities, all the reasons he should say no. But then something remarkable happened. He shrugged off his suit jacket, rolled up his sleeves, and sat down on the floor beside Luna. "Okay. What do I paint?" "Whatever you feel." Maya handed him a brush. "There's no right or wrong. Just put color on paper and see what happens." What followed was awkward and endearing. Dominic approached painting the way he probably approached everything, with intense focus and a desire for perfection. His first attempts were stiff, controlled. But Luna kept laughing and making suggestions, her tiny hands guiding his, and gradually he loosened up. They painted for an hour. Luna created a rainbow garden. Maya worked on an abstract piece, blues and grays swirling together. And Dominic, after several false starts, painted something that made Maya's breath catch. It was a woman dancing. Simple lines, mostly suggestion rather than detail, but unmistakably graceful. Unmistakably full of life and movement. That's Mama. Luna said softly, recognizing it immediately. She loved to dance. She did. Dominic's voice was rough with emotion. She tried to teach me but I was terrible at it. She would laugh and say I had no rhythm, but she kept trying anyway. It's beautiful. Maya said honestly. You captured something real. Dominic looked at his painting like he was seeing it for the first time. Maybe I did. He glanced at Maya. Thank you. For this. I didn't realize how much I needed to just stop and breathe. You're welcome. But thank Luna. She's the one who invited you. That evening set a new pattern. Dominic started coming home earlier. Not every day, but several times a week. He would spend time with Luna, really present, not distracted by his phone or thinking about work. They would paint together, or read stories, or build elaborate block towers that Luna delighted in knocking down. And Maya would watch them, seeing a father and daughter slowly finding their way back to each other. But something else was developing too. Something Maya had not anticipated and was not sure how to handle. She and Dominic started talking. Real conversations, not just logistics about Luna's schedule. He would come home and find Maya reading on the couch after Luna had gone to bed. Instead of disappearing into his study, he would pour 2 glasses of wine and ask if she wanted company. They talked about everything. His childhood in the Bronx, raised by a single mother who worked 3 jobs. Her years bouncing between foster homes before landing with the family who eventually took in both her and Bella. His journey building his company from nothing. Her abandoned dreams of becoming an artist. Tell me about your art. Dominic said one evening. They were sitting on the balcony off the living room, the city spread out below them like a constellation of lights. What did you want to do with it? I wanted to teach. Maya admitted. Not in a formal school necessarily, but community programs. Art therapy for kids in foster care. I knew what it was like to have nothing and feel powerless. Art was the one thing that made me feel like I had control over something, even if it was just colors on a canvas. That's beautiful. Why can't you still do that? Life got in the way. Money got in the way. After Bella died, I just couldn't anymore. Creating anything felt impossible when I had destroyed the most important thing in my life. You didn't destroy her, Maya. It was an accident. I was supposed to be watching her. Maya's voice cracked. I looked away for 15 seconds and she died. That's on me. Dominic was quiet for a long moment. Then he said. Isabel died because I had a late meeting. I was supposed to go to that gala with her. If I had been there, I would have driven. She would still be alive. So is her death on me? Maya looked at him, seeing the pain he carried, the guilt that matched her own. That's different. Is it? We both blame ourselves for accidents we couldn't control. We both carry grief we think we earned. But Maya, if I had been driving that night, if it had been me who died, would you tell me it was my fault? No. Of course not. Then extend yourself the same grace. Please. The words settled between them, heavy with truth neither of them wanted to accept but both of them needed to hear. They sat in silence for a while, not uncomfortable, just 2 damaged people finding unexpected understanding in each other's presence. If you are finding this story meaningful and want to hear more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to Billionaire Stories with Mr. Lawson. Your support means everything. The weeks continued. Luna flourished under Maya's care and Dominic's increased presence. She started attending her preschool again, something she had refused to do since Isabel's death. The teachers reported that she still had difficult moments, still sometimes withdrew when grief overwhelmed her, but overall she was participating, playing with other children, slowly returning to the world. Maya accompanied her to school, sitting in on the first few days until Luna felt comfortable. She met the other mothers and nannies, most of whom were polite but clearly saw her as the help. There was a hierarchy in these circles, invisible but absolute. The mothers with their designer handbags and expensive highlights ruled the social structure. The nannies were tolerated but separate. Maya did not care. She was not there to make friends or impress anyone. She was there for Luna. But one mother stood out. Her name was Claire, and she approached Maya after school one day while they waited for their children. "You're new," Claire said. It was not quite friendly but not hostile either. Just observational. "Relatively," Maya replied. "I've been with the Laurent family about 6 weeks. How is Luna doing?" Claire's expression softened. "My daughter Emma was close with her before. Well, before everything. I've been worried. She's doing better. Still grieving, but learning to live with it. Isabel was wonderful," Claire said quietly. "We served on a charity board together. She was one of the few people in these circles who genuinely cared about making a difference, not just appearing to care for social status." "That sounds like the person everyone describes. How is Dominic handling everything?" Claire asked, then quickly added. "Sorry, that's probably not appropriate to ask." Maya shrugged. "He's doing his best. It's hard, losing your partner and trying to hold everything together for your child." "I can't imagine." Claire paused. "Listen, if Luna ever wants a playdate with Emma, please reach out. I think it might be good for both of them. Emma asks about Luna all the time." Maya took Claire's number, touched by the genuine concern. "Thank you. I'll mention it to Luna." That playdate happened the following week. Maya brought Luna to Claire's brownstone in the West Village. The two little girls stared at each other shyly at first, but within minutes they were playing like no time had passed. Watching Luna laugh and run around with Emma, Maya felt a surge of hope. This was healing. This was a little girl reclaiming her childhood. Claire made tea and she and Maya sat in the kitchen while the girls played in the next room. "So how did you end up with the Laurents?" Claire asked. "If you don't mind me asking." Maya told her the story. The restaurant, Luna's inconsolable crying, the conversation that had changed everything. Claire listened with wide eyes. "That's extraordinary," Claire said when Maya finished. "Dominic must have seen something special in you to trust you with Luna like that." "I think he was desperate," Maya said honestly. "I was just in the right place at the right time." "Don't diminish what you did. That took courage, approaching them like that. Most people would have stayed away. Most people are smarter than me." Maya smiled. "I probably should have been fired. But instead your life completely changed." Claire studied her thoughtfully. "Do you like it? Working for them?" Maya considered the question. "I love Luna. She's an incredible child. And the job itself is more fulfilling than anything I've done before. Helping her heal feels important in a way my other work never did." "But?" Claire prompted, hearing the unspoken hesitation. "But sometimes I feel like I'm living someone else's life. Like I'm playing a role in a story I don't quite belong in." Maya gestured around at the expensive brownstone, the designer furniture. "This world, it's so far from anything I've ever known. Sometimes I feel like an imposter." "Or maybe you're exactly where you're supposed to be," Claire said gently. "Sometimes the universe puts us in unexpected places because that's where we're needed most. You needed Luna as much as she needed you. That's not coincidence." "Maybe." Maya wanted to believe it. But the feeling of not quite belonging persisted, a low hum of discomfort beneath the surface of her new life. That evening, after putting Luna to bed, Maya found Dominic in the living room. He was looking at the paintings they had created over the past weeks, now hung on one wall in a makeshift gallery. Luna had insisted they display them all. She has good instincts, Dominic said when he noticed Maya. These actually look intentional, like we meant to create an eclectic collection. She has her mother's eye for design. Maya joined him, studying the paintings. This one's my favorite. She pointed to one of Luna's pieces. A simple painting of 3 stick figures holding hands under a yellow sun. The figures were labeled in Luna's careful preschool handwriting. Mama, Daddy, me. Dominic's expression tightened. She painted that last week. I found her crying over it. What did you do? I held her. Told her it was okay to be sad. That I missed Mama too. He paused. That's what you've been teaching me. That I don't have to fix everything. Sometimes I just need to be present with her pain. That's exactly right. Maya felt a surge of pride. You're doing so well with her, Dominic. Really? We're doing well with her. He turned to face Maya fully. I couldn't do this without you. You know that, right? You've saved my daughter's life. Probably mine too. The intensity in his gaze made Maya's pulse quicken. She was suddenly very aware of how close they were standing. How the lamplight cast shadows across his features. How his eyes held something beyond gratitude. I'm just doing my job. She managed, her voice not quite steady. No. Dominic said quietly. You're doing so much more than that. The moment stretched between them, charged with something neither of them seemed ready to name. Maya felt herself leaning slightly toward him, drawn by a pull she did not fully understand and was not sure she should acknowledge. Then her phone rang, shattering the moment. She stepped back quickly, fumbling for her phone. It was an unknown number. I should take this, she said, needing the excuse to put distance between them. Excuse me. She answered in the hallway. Hello? Is this Maya Reyes? A woman's voice, professional but warm. Yes, who's calling? My name is Dr. Patricia Morris. I run the children's art therapy program at Mount Sinai Hospital. I got your name from Claire Henderson. She mentioned you have experience with art and working with children dealing with grief. Maya's mind raced. Claire must have given her name out without asking first. Oh. Yes, that's correct. I'm actually looking for someone to teach a class on Saturday mornings. Art therapy for children ages 4 to 10 who have experienced loss. It's volunteer work, no pay, but it's incredibly rewarding. Claire thought you might be interested. Maya's heart started pounding. This was exactly what she had wanted to do years ago. Exactly the dream she had abandoned. I would need to check with my employer. I work weekends sometimes. Of course. The position is flexible. Even if you could only commit to twice a month, that would be helpful. Would you be willing to come in and talk about it? See the space, meet some of the staff? Yes. Maya heard herself say. Yes, would love to. They arranged a meeting for the following Tuesday. When Maya hung up, she stood in the hallway for a long moment, trying to process this unexpected development. The universe was offering her a chance to reclaim a piece of the dream she had let die with Bella. When she returned to the living room, Dominic was still there. Everything okay? More than okay. Maya could not keep the excitement from her voice. That was a hospital program. They want me to teach art therapy to kids dealing with grief. It's volunteer work, just Saturday mornings, but it's exactly what I wanted to do before everything fell apart. Dominic's face broke into a genuine smile. Maya, that's wonderful. Of course you should do it. I would need to adjust Luna's schedule on those Saturdays. We'll make it work. Luna and I can have daddy-daughter mornings. It'll be good for both of us. Are you sure? I don't want to neglect my responsibilities here. Dominic crossed the room and took her hands in his. The gesture was warm, supportive, but it also sent electricity through Maya's skin. You deserve to have a life beyond this apartment. Beyond taking care of my daughter. You deserve to pursue things that make you happy. Thank you. Maya whispered. That means more than you know. He held her gaze for a moment longer than necessary before releasing her hands. You've given us so much, Maya. It's the least I can do to support you in return. That night, lying in her enormous bed in her beautiful room, Maya thought about the strange turns her life had taken. 2 months ago she had been barely surviving, exhausted and hopeless. Now she was living in a penthouse, caring for a child she had grown to love, and being offered opportunities she thought were forever out of reach. But beneath the gratitude, something else stirred. Something complicated and potentially dangerous. She was developing feelings for Dominic Laurent. Not just respect or friendship, but something deeper. Something that made her pulse race when he walked into a room. Something that made her hyper-aware of every accidental touch, every meaningful glance. This was her employer. Luna's father. A man still grieving his wife. Getting involved would be spectacularly inappropriate on every level. It would jeopardize her job, her stability, the relationship she had built with Luna. Maya told herself to stop. To redirect these feelings before they grew into something unmanageable. She was good at denial. She had spent 3 years denying her grief, burying it under work and exhaustion. She could bury this too. But denial only works until it doesn't. The Tuesday meeting at Mount Sinai went beautifully. Dr. Morris was a kind woman in her 50s with laugh lines and an obvious passion for her work. She showed Maya the art therapy room, a bright space filled with supplies and children's artwork covering the walls. We serve about 20 children regularly. Dr. Morris explained. All of them have lost a parent or sibling within the past 2 years. Some are further along in their grief journey, others are just beginning. What we found is that art gives them a way to express feelings they don't have words for yet. Maya understood completely. That's exactly how I used art when I was younger. It was the only safe way to let out what I was feeling. Claire mentioned you lost your sister. I'm sorry. That must inform your work in powerful ways. It does. Maya looked at the children's paintings on the walls. Bright colors and dark ones. Joy and pain existing side by side. I know what these kids are going through. Not exactly, everyone's grief is different, but I know the shape of it. That's what they need. Someone who understands. Not pity, but genuine empathy. Maya started the following Saturday. Dominic insisted on having his driver take her to the hospital even though she protested she could take the subway. This is important work, he said firmly. Let me support you in doing it. The first class was terrifying and wonderful. 8 children, ages ranging from 4 to 9. Some shy, some eager, all of them carrying loss they were too young to bear. Maya introduced herself simply. My name is Maya. When I was 23, my little sister Bella died in an accident. I was so sad I didn't know what to do with all the feelings inside me. So I painted them. And that helped. I want to teach you how to do the same thing. The honesty worked. Children respond to truth. They opened up in ways that made Maya's heart ache and soar simultaneously. A 6-year-old boy painted his father as a superhero angel. A 7-year-old girl created a garden where her mother lived as a flower. A 5-year-old rendered his grief as a dark storm cloud with rain falling on a small figure below. Maya moved between them, offering gentle guidance, validating their feelings, creating a space where pain was allowed and expression was encouraged. By the end of the 2-hour session, she was emotionally exhausted but more fulfilled than she had felt in years. This was her purpose. This was what she was meant to do. When she returned to the penthouse that afternoon, Luna ran to greet her. Maya, Maya. Guess what? Daddy and I went to the park and we fed the ducks and I didn't even cry once. That's wonderful, sweetheart. Maya hugged her, breathing in the little girl's shampoo scent. Dominic appeared from the kitchen, flour somehow smudged on his cheek. We also attempted cookies. The results are questionable but Luna insists they're delicious. They are delicious. Luna declared loyally. How was your first class? Dominic asked, and the genuine interest in his expression warmed Maya. Perfect. Challenging, emotional, but absolutely perfect. I'm glad. He smiled, and Maya noticed how different he looked from 2 months ago. Less haunted. More present. He was healing too, she realized. They all were. That evening, after Luna was in bed, Maya and Dominic shared the questionable cookies on the balcony. They were burned on the edges and raw in the middle, but Maya ate one anyway and declared it the best cookie she had ever had. You're a terrible liar. Dominic laughed. But I appreciate the effort. They fell into comfortable silence, watching the city lights. These moments had become Maya's favorite part of the day. Just sitting with someone who understood loss. Who did not expect her to be anything other than herself. Can I ask you something? Dominic said eventually. And please feel free to tell me if I'm overstepping. Of course. Are you happy here? With this job, this life? Maya considered the question carefully. I'm happier than I've been in 3 years. Luna is wonderful. This opportunity to teach is a gift. And this, she gestured to the view, the penthouse, everything. It's more than I ever imagined having. But sometimes I feel guilty. Like I don't deserve this. Like Bella died and somehow I ended up with everything while she got nothing. Dominic turned to look at her fully. Bella would want you to be happy. Children always want their siblings to be happy. Just like Isabel would want Luna to laugh and play and eventually heal. Our dead don't want us to suffer forever in their honor. How do you know that? Because love wants happiness for the beloved. Isabel loved Luna more than anything. Her greatest wish would be for our daughter to have a full, joyful life. Suffering doesn't honor her memory. Living does. The wisdom in his words struck Maya deeply. You're right. I never thought about it that way. We have to give ourselves permission to keep living. Dominic's voice dropped lower. Even when it feels like betrayal. Even when grief tells us we should stop. We have to choose life anyway. Is that what you're doing? Choosing life? I'm trying. Having you here has helped. You've shown me how to be present with Luna's pain without being consumed by my own. You've taught me that healing isn't linear, that setbacks don't mean failure. You've given me hope that we might actually be okay eventually. You would have figured it out on your own. Maybe. But maybe not in time. Luna needed help sooner rather than later. You provided that. They sat quietly for a while longer. Then Dominic said. I need to tell you something. Maya's heart started racing. Okay. I'm grateful for everything you've done for Luna. For our family. But Maya, he paused, seeming to gather courage. I value you beyond your role as Luna's nanny. I value you as a person. As a friend. As someone I've come to care about deeply. The words hung in the air between them. Maya knew she should deflect, should maintain professional boundaries, should protect herself from the complications this could create. But she was tired of denying what she felt. I care about you too. She said quietly. More than I probably should. Why shouldn't you? Because you're my employer. Because you're still grieving your wife. Because getting involved could ruin everything good we've built here. Those are all valid reasons. Dominic acknowledged. But they don't change how I feel. They don't make me stop thinking about you constantly. They don't stop me from looking forward to these conversations more than anything else in my day. Maya's breath caught. Dominic. I'm not asking for anything. He said quickly. I'm not expecting anything. I just needed you to know. That you matter. That you're not just the help or Luna's nanny. You're important to me, Maya. As yourself. Subscribe to Billionaire Stories with Mr. Lawson for more meaningful stories about healing, hope, and unexpected connections. Maya did not know what to say. Her heart was pounding so hard she thought he must be able to hear it. Every rational part of her brain screamed warnings. But her heart, that treacherous organ, wanted to lean into this. Wanted to explore whatever was developing between them. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed. A text from Claire. Checking in. How did the first class go? The interruption broke the spell. Maya stood abruptly. I should go to bed. Early morning with Luna tomorrow. Of course. Dominic stood as well, not quite meeting her eyes. Good night, Maya. Good night. She fled to her room, her thoughts in chaos. What was she doing? She could not fall for Dominic Laurent. It was impossible, impractical, potentially disastrous. But telling herself that did not change the flutter in her chest when he looked at her. Did not change the warmth that spread through her when he smiled. Did not change the growing certainty that she was in serious trouble. The next few weeks were careful. Maya and Dominic danced around each other, both aware of what had been said but uncertain how to proceed. They maintained their evening conversations but kept them lighter, safer. They co-parented Luna with increasing synchronization but avoided being alone together for extended periods. Luna, oblivious to the tension, continued to thrive. She had been back at preschool for a month and her teachers reported she was doing wonderfully. She still had hard days when grief overwhelmed her, but they were becoming less frequent. She talked about Isabel often, but with growing acceptance. Mama is in heaven but she's also in my heart. She told Maya one day. That's what you taught me. That's exactly right, sweetheart. Maya hugged her close, so proud of this little girl's resilience. Maya's art therapy classes continued every Saturday. She worked with more children, saw more pain, but also witnessed incredible healing. Art gave these kids what therapy alone sometimes could not. A way to externalize their grief. To make the invisible visible. To take chaos and shape it into something bearable. One of her students, a 9-year-old named Sophie who had lost her mother to cancer, created a series of paintings about transformation. Caterpillars becoming butterflies. Seeds becoming flowers. Death leading to new life. The metaphor was heavy-handed but authentic to a child's understanding. And it was helping Sophie process her loss in a way that talking never had. You're so good at this. Dr. Morris told Maya after a particularly successful session. Have you ever considered making it a career? Getting certified in art therapy? Maya laughed. I didn't even finish my art degree. I couldn't afford certification training. What if you could? Dr. Morris asked. There are programs. Scholarships. You have real talent for this work, Maya. You should pursue it properly. The seed was planted. Maya found herself researching art therapy certification programs. They were expensive and time-consuming, requiring both coursework and supervised clinical hours. But for the first time in years, she felt genuine excitement about her future. This was what she wanted to do with her life. She mentioned it to Dominic one evening. They were in his study, Maya having brought him coffee while he worked. Luna was asleep and the penthouse was quiet around them. "I've been thinking about going back to school," Maya said, settling into the chair across from his desk. "Art therapy certification. It's a 2-year program, but I could do it part-time." "That's a wonderful idea." Dominic looked up from his laptop, giving her his full attention. "What's holding you back?" "Money. The program costs about $40,000 total. I have some savings now from working here, but not nearly enough. And I would need to reduce my hours to attend classes, which means less income." Dominic leaned back in his chair, studying her thoughtfully. "What if I paid for it?" "What?" Maya sat up straighter. "No. Absolutely not." "Why not?" "I believe in what you're doing. I've seen the impact you have on children. Investing in your education would be investing in future kids you could help." "That's too much, Dominic. I can't accept that." "Consider it part of your compensation package." He said it casually, like he was proposing a minor adjustment rather than a life-changing gift. "Continuing education funds. Many companies offer them. I'm a nanny, not a corporate employee." "Your family." Dominic's voice softened. "Maya, you've given Luna her life back. You've helped me become a better father. You've brought light back into this house. Let me help you pursue something that clearly means the world to you." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes. Say you'll apply to the program. Say you'll let someone support you for once instead of carrying everything alone." The vulnerability in his expression undid her. This was not about money. This was about him wanting to give something back. About connection and gratitude and something deeper neither of them could quite name. "Okay," she whispered. "Yes. Thank you." His smile transformed his face. "Good. Apply this week. We'll make whatever schedule adjustments necessary." That night, Maya filled out the application for Columbia University's art therapy program. Her hands shook as she wrote her personal statement, pouring onto the page everything she had learned about grief and healing and the power of creative expression. She submitted it at midnight, then sat staring at the confirmation email, hardly believing this was real. Her life kept expanding in ways she never anticipated. Every door that had seemed permanently closed was opening again. But with opportunity came complications. The feelings between her and Dominic continued to intensify despite their efforts to maintain boundaries. Stolen glances across the dinner table. Hands brushing when passing Luna between them. Conversations that went deeper than friends, that hinted at possibilities neither of them had acknowledged aloud since that night on the balcony. The breaking point came 3 months into Maya's employment. Dominic's company was hosting a charity gala, and he asked Maya to attend. "It's for children's hospitals," he explained. "Very relevant to your art therapy work. I thought you might want to see how these events operate. Plus Luna will be there for the first hour, they always include families. I could use backup managing her in that environment." The reasoning was sound, but Maya suspected there was more to it. Still, she agreed. Claire helped her shop for a dress, insisting that the department store options were not sufficient for this particular crowd. They ended up at a boutique in Soho where a single dress cost more than Maya used to make in 2 months. "You can't show up to a Laurent charity event in something off the rack," Claire said firmly. "This crowd notices everything. Trust me." The dress they chose was midnight blue, simple but elegant. It fit perfectly, making Maya look sophisticated in a way she had never quite achieved before. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. On the night of the gala, Maya spent an hour getting ready. Hair styled. Makeup applied with care. The dress that transformed her from nanny to something else entirely. When she emerged from her room, she found Dominic waiting in the living room in a tuxedo that was clearly custom-made. He looked up when she entered, and the expression on his face made her breath catch. He stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Like every wall he had carefully constructed was crumbling in real time. "Maya." His voice was rough. "You look absolutely stunning." "Thank you. You clean up pretty well yourself." Luna bounded into the room wearing a purple dress that matched her favorite color scheme. She twirled for both of them. "Do I look pretty?" "You look beautiful, sweetheart." Maya crouched down to adjust Luna's hair bow. "Like a princess." The gala was held at the Plaza Hotel in an ballroom that screamed old money and new wealth colliding. Crystal chandeliers hung from ornate ceilings. Tables were set with more silverware than seemed necessary. Women wore jewels that could fund small countries. Men networked with the intensity of sharks circling prey. Maya felt completely out of her depth. This was Dominic's world. Isabel's world. A place where everyone knew the unspoken rules and moved through space with inherited confidence. She was an intruder here. But Dominic stayed close, his hand on the small of her back as he introduced her to various people. "This is Maya Reyes. She works with children in art therapy at Mount Sinai. She's brilliant at what she does. Not my nanny. Not the help. A professional in her own right." The distinction mattered. They made it through the family hour successfully. Luna charmed everyone, showing remarkable poise for a 4-year-old. But when the children were dismissed and the more adult portion of the evening began, Luna went home with Mrs. Chen and Maya stayed. She and Dominic sat at a table with his business associates and their spouses. The conversation flowed around topics Maya understood intellectually but had no experience with. Market trends. Real estate acquisitions. Portfolio diversification. She smiled politely and felt like an anthropologist observing a foreign culture. But during dinner, Dominic leaned close and whispered. "You're doing great. Just breathe. I don't belong here." She whispered back. "Neither do I. Most of these people inherited their wealth. I worked for mine. That makes us both outsiders in different ways. But we're here anyway. Together." The word "together" did something to her heart rate. She was hyper-aware of his proximity. The way his shoulder brushed hers. The scent of his cologne. The warmth radiating from him. Dancing started after dinner. Dominic excused himself to make rounds, obligated to speak with donors and board members. Maya found herself alone at the table, watching couples glide across the dance floor. Claire appeared beside her. "Hiding? Observing." Maya corrected. "This is all very foreign to me." "You look like you belong," Claire said kindly. "That dress is perfect. And the way Dominic looks at you, well. Let's just say it's very obvious to everyone here that you're more than just Luna's nanny." Maya's cheeks burned. "We're just friends." "Sure you are." Claire smiled knowingly. "And I'm just friends with my husband. It's complicated. The best things usually are." Before Maya could respond, Dominic returned. He extended his hand. "Dance with me?" Maya's heart leapt into her throat. "I don't really know how. Neither did I before Isabel taught me. Come on. I'll guide you." She let him lead her onto the dance floor, acutely aware of eyes following them. His hand settled on her waist, the other taking her hand in his. They began to move, and somehow, impossibly, it worked. She let him lead and her body followed, finding the rhythm she did not know she possessed. "See?" Dominic said softly. "You're a natural. I have a good teacher." They swayed together, the world narrowing to just the two of them. Maya was aware of nothing but his presence. The way he held her like she was precious. The way his eyes never left her face. The way this felt absolutely right and terribly dangerous simultaneously. Maya. He said her name like a prayer. I need to tell you something. Her pulse raced. Okay. These past few months, having you in my life, in Luna's life, have been transformative. You've helped me heal in ways I didn't think possible. And somewhere along the way, I started developing feelings that go beyond gratitude or friendship. Dominic. She started to protest, to stop this before it went somewhere they could not return from. Please, let me finish. I know this is complicated. I know I'm your employer and Luna's father and still grieving my wife. I know all the reasons this is a terrible idea. But Maya, I can't ignore how I feel anymore. I'm falling for you. Maybe I already have fallen for you. And I needed you to know. The honesty in his voice, the vulnerability in his amber eyes, shattered her remaining resistance. She should pull away. Should set boundaries. Should protect them both from the messy complications this would create. Instead, she said. I'm falling for you too. And it terrifies me. Why? Because I could lose everything. This job, this life, my relationship with Luna. If this goes wrong, I don't just lose you. I lose her too. And I don't know if I could survive that. What if it doesn't go wrong? What if it goes right? What if it doesn't go anywhere because we're smart enough to stop before it starts? Is that what you want? To stop? The question hung between them. The music swelled around them. Other couples danced, oblivious to the quiet revolution happening in this one moment between two people who had found each other in the wreckage of their grief. No. Maya admitted. That's not what I want. Then what do you want? You. The word came out barely above a whisper. I want you. But I need to know this is real. That you're not just looking for a replacement for Isabel. That I'm not just convenient because I'm here. Dominic stopped dancing. He led her off the floor, through the crowd, out onto a balcony overlooking Central Park. The night air was cool against Maya's heated skin. Look at me. He said, his hands framing her face gently. You are nothing like Isabel. She was extraordinary, and I will always love her memory. But my feelings for you are entirely separate. You're not a replacement. You're not convenient. You're Maya, and you've made me feel things I thought I would never feel again. How do you know it's not just gratitude or grief or loneliness? Because when I think about my future, you're in it. When I imagine Luna growing up, I see you there. When I picture what happiness might look like again, it's this. You and me and Luna, building something together. And if it falls apart? If we try this and it ruins everything? Then we'll have tried. Dominic's thumbs brushed across her cheekbones. I spent 6 months being too afraid to live. Too afraid to feel anything but grief. You taught me that being afraid is not a good enough reason to stay stuck. So I'm choosing to be brave. I'm choosing to reach for something that might be extraordinary. The question is, will you reach back? Maya thought about all the reasons to say no. All the ways this could go wrong. All the safer choices she could make. Then she thought about Luna asking, does it stop hurting? And her own answer. It changes. It becomes different. Everything was changing. She was changing. And maybe that was okay. Maybe transformation required risk. Maybe healing meant being brave enough to try again even after loss had taught you how badly things could hurt. Yes. Maya whispered. I'll reach back. Dominic kissed her then, gentle and tentative, a question and an answer simultaneously. And Maya kissed him back, letting herself fall into the moment, into the possibility, into the terrifying beautiful hope that maybe broken people could help each other become whole. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Dominic rested his forehead against hers. "We'll take this slow," he promised. "We'll figure it out together. Luna comes first, always. But Maya, I want this. I want us." "So do I." Maya felt tears on her cheeks, but they were not sad tears. They were overwhelmed tears. Grateful tears. Tears that came from feeling something other than grief for the first time in 3 years. They stayed on that balcony for a long time, holding each other, watching the city lights, letting themselves imagine a future that looked different from the wreckage of their pasts. Eventually they returned to the gala, but everything had shifted. They were not just Luna's father and Luna's nanny anymore. They were two people who had found each other in the darkness and decided to walk toward the light together. The next morning, they told Luna over breakfast. Not everything, she was too young for adult relationship details. But the truth in a way she could understand. "Maya is going to keep being your nanny and my friend," Dominic explained, Luna eating pancakes between them. "But she's also going to be even more part of our family. Is that okay with you?" Luna looked between them seriously. "Will she stay forever?" "We hope so." Dominic glanced at Maya, something warm and certain in his expression. "If she wants to." "Do you want to, Maya?" Luna asked. "More than anything," Maya said honestly. "If you want me here." Luna climbed into Maya's lap and hugged her fiercely. "I want you here forever and ever. You make Daddy smile again. And you help me remember Mama in good ways. So yes, please stay forever." Over Luna's head, Maya met Dominic's eyes. He was crying silently, tears of grief and joy mixed together. She reached across the table and took his hand, holding on while Luna held on to her. This was healing. This was family being built from broken pieces. This was what came after the worst happened. Not forgetting. Not replacing. But allowing room for new love alongside old loss. Maya thought about the night at La Belle Époque when a little girl's crying had called to her. When she had walked over against all advice, risked everything, and changed her life forever. If someone had told her then where that moment would lead, she would never have believed it. But here she was. In a penthouse overlooking Central Park. Holding a little girl who had claimed her heart. Falling in love with a man who saw her for who she truly was. Building a future she had never dared to imagine. Sometimes the worst moments lead to the best transformations. Sometimes grief breaks you open so new light can get in. Sometimes the person you are meant to become is waiting on the other side of fear. Maya had been so afraid for so long. Afraid she would never matter. Never be more than the girl who let her sister die. Never deserve happiness or love or belonging. But Luna had taught her that grief does not have to be the end of the story. That love makes room for more love. That broken people can help each other heal. And that sometimes, when you are brave enough to reach for connection even when it feels impossible, the universe reaches back. 6 months later, Maya was accepted into Columbia's art therapy program. 1 year later, she and Dominic were engaged. 2 years later, she walked across the stage to receive her certification while Dominic and Luna cheered from the audience. And 5 years after that night at La Belle Époque, Maya ran the largest children's grief art therapy program in New York City. She worked with hundreds of kids, teaching them what Luna had taught her. That grief changes but love endures. That pain can be transformed into beauty. That the people we lose never really leave us. Luna grew up surrounded by art and love and the memory of a mother who adored her. She learned that families can be built in many ways. That having a stepmother who chose to love her did not diminish the mother she lost. That hearts are big enough to hold both grief and joy. And Maya finally understood what her sister Bella's death had been trying to teach her all along. That life is fragile and precious. That we honor the dead not by suffering endlessly, but by living fully. That love is always worth the risk of loss. And that sometimes, the very thing that breaks you open is what allows you to finally be filled. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to Billionaire Stories with Mr. Lawson. Share this with someone who needs to be reminded that healing is possible, that love can emerge from loss, and that sometimes the worst day of your life can lead to the best transformation. Thank you for being here.